Welcome back. We are still in rolling. This is activity 1.4, and we're talking about probabilities from 0 to 1. Question number 1 says, what is the greatest possible probability in any experiment? Explain your reasoning. Number 2 says, what is the least possible probability in any experiment? Explain your reasoning. And number 3 says, what is the probability of an event that is just as likely to occur as not occur? Explain your reasoning. Now, what I want you to do to start this activity off, I want you to discuss amongst your neighbors, amongst yourselves, and write and answer questions number 1, 2, and 3. And if you need to, go back in the previous activities and reference your answers. But I'm going to give you 1 minute and 1 minute only. Okay, no, that's too short. 2 minutes. 2 minutes and 2 minutes only to discuss and write your answers for questions 1, 2, and 3. 2 minutes on the clock. Pause here. Alrighty, let's talk about it. So, what is the greatest possible probability of any experiment? Well, we learned from a previous activity that if the outcome or the probability of all outcomes. Hold on, let me back up. This is what I'm trying to explain here. In activity 1.3, okay, in number 5, it says calculate the probability of it not being a vowel. Well, all of those outcomes are not vowels. So the chances of it landing on not a vowel was 1, or we took it up a notch and turned it into a percent, 100%. So we know that the greatest possible probability is 1 or 100%. And then number 2, the least possible probability, of course, we know is 0. If it's not happening, there are 0 chances. So 0% chance. And then number 3 says, what is the probability of an event that is just as likely to occur? So think somewhere right in the middle, right? If it is going to happen, or if there is a chance that it might or might not happen, you've probably heard this before. There's about a 50-50 chance, right? So that could look like 1/2, which we've seen before. That could also look like a decimal number, so 50% written as a decimal. It could also look like the percentage 50%. And then also note this right here, which is kind of what I just explained. Probabilities can be expressed as fractions, decimals, or percents. All right, let's continue. The little blurb at the bottom says the probability of an event occurring is a number between 0 and 1. If the event is certain to happen, then the probability is 1. If an event is impossible to happen, then the probability is 0. If an event is just as likely to happen as not happen, then the probability is 0.5 or 5/10 or 1/2. Okay, let's continue. Oops. All right, so number 4 on the next page says, complete the chart representing the different probabilities. I do want you to complete this on your own, but I am going to help you get started. The number line below represents the probabilities from 0 to 1 of any event occurring. So just like we read in that small little section, 0 means that it's impossible. 1 means that it is certain to happen. It's for sure going to happen. And 1/2 means it is just as likely as unlikely. It's a 50-50 chance it may or may not. And then notice below those letters or those numbers, below those words, you have got brackets and it says unlikely and likely. That just means if it's between 0 and 1/2, then it's unlikely to happen. For an example, if there is a 20% chance of rain, it's probably not going to happen. But if there is, say, an 80% chance of rain, it is likely that it's probably going to happen. So that's what those brackets represent. So like I said, I'm going to go ahead and get you started with this table because I do want you to fill this in on your own. So let's look at the first row. The probability of a certain event. So certain meaning that it is definitely going to happen, right? That fraction looks like 1, or it could look like 1 over 1. Oh, shoot. Okay, there we go. 1. And the decimal looks like 1.0. That's 1 written in decimal form. And percentage would look like 100%. There we go. And let me actually write a fraction in here too. 1 over 1, or 2 over 2, or 5 over 5. However you want to write that fraction is fine with me. And then what you're going to do is fill in the rest of the table. But I'm not done here because I do want you to complete question number 5 as well before we check our answers. Number 5 says, estimate the probability of each event occurring. Then place the letter corresponding to the estimated probability of the event on the number line. And you're going to do that in fraction, decimal, and percent form. So for an example, like I said, I'll get you started because I want you guys to be successful. Let's use purple. A says, the next baby born at your local hospital will be male. Well, you can only have 2 different types of babies, male and female. So I know that this is just as likely to occur, which I know as a fraction is written as 1/2. A decimal, I'm helping you out here because this is what you're filling in your table, I know is written as 0.5. And as a percentage, I know there is a 50% chance. And that is how you're filling in number 5. Alrighty, at this time, I'm going to pause my page here. You are going to complete questions 4 and 5 on your own. Set a timer for about 4 minutes. 4 minutes max. Pause here. Alrighty, let's compare answers. So you should have filled in your table as such, or like so. The event that is just as likely as unlikely to occur, that is hard to say. In fraction form is 1/2. In decimal form, it is 0 and 5/10, 0.5. And in percent form is 50%. If it is impossible, well, that is 0%. That decimal is written as 0 or 0.0. And as a fraction, that is 0 out of any number you chose. So 0 out of 1, 0 out of 2, 0 out of 3, as long as it expresses 0. Question number 5. Let's start with 5B because we went over 5A. 5B says your neighbors will get a pet dinosaur. What is the chance or the likelihood of that? Probably 0, because where are the dinosaurs? Where are they? So that fraction would be 0 out of 1. The decimal is 0.0 or just 0, and the percentage is 0%. For C, what is the probability that you will have a test in one of your classes this month? Well, I had put, you may know the answer, maybe it's a 90% chance, I'm not sure, but I put 100% chance because I know for a sure fact that within a month you've got math tests coming up. So I put 100%, that decimal is 1.0, and then as a fraction, you could have put 1 out of 1, 2 out of 2, 3 out of 3, etc. And then 5D says a 7th grader is more than 6 feet tall. What is the chance of that? Well, it's not totally impossible, but it is rare to see a 7th grader more than 6 feet tall, but it is possible. So the fraction I put was 1 out of 100. The decimal of that is 100ths, or 0.01, and that percentage is 1%. Now, if you did 2% or 30%, whatever is fine. As long as you wrote somewhere in between 0 and 50%, because that is something that is unlikely to occur in most places. Alrighty. And that concludes activity 1.4. Awesome work today. We are moving right along through this lesson. I will see you in the next video.